Court is back in session and calls number 327-860. Case is filed, the state of Texas versus David Alexander Osagara Borjas. Is that your full name?
Yes, sir.
And again, Mr. Borjas, will you please raise your right hand? Mr. Borjas, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Borjas, you may put your hand down. Mr. Osagara Borjas, you're represented here by your attorney, Mr. Galmore. And Mr. Galmore, do you waive a record in Mr. Osagara Borjas case?
Yes, Judge.
Mr. Osagara Borjas, I have before me a document that is titled and information. It's also styled as State of Texas versus David Alexander Osagara Borjas. And in this document, it alleges that on or about July 19, 2020, while you're in Jefferson County, Texas, that you committed the Class A misdemeanor of offensive driving while intoxicated with alcohol concentration level of 0.15 or more. Now, state, are you waiving the enhancement paragraph?
Yes, Your Honor. The state is.
Now, Mr. Osagara Borjas, the state is waiving the enhancement paragraph in this case. What that simply means is that instead of you being charged with a Class A misdemeanor, you are now being charged with a lesser included offense of a Class B misdemeanor. DWI, do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
And that just basically means that for a Class B misdemeanor, misdemeanor offense, the range of punishment is confinement in jail for a term for at least 72 hours, but not to exceed 180 days, of fine not to exceed $2,000, or both such confinement and fine. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And I'm writing on the document, the misdemeanor plea admonishment that the state is waiving the enhancement paragraph. Now, Mr. David Alexander Osagara Borjas, I have before me a document that is, no, let me back up. Now, to the offense of driving while intoxicated, first, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
Guilty.
Now, you're pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
And are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Osagara Borjas, I have before me a document that is titled misdemeanor plea admonishment, also labeled as State's Exhibit Number 1. Do you recognize this document with the sentence that I wrote on here that the state is waiving the enhancement paragraph?
Yes, sir.
Now, on page 2 of this same document, there's a set of initials D.O. on a line next to a box that said guilty. Did you place your initials on this document?
Yes, sir.
And on the third page of the same document, there's a signature that is at the top of this document above the line that's titled defendant. Is that your signature?
Yes, sir.
Now, as I go back to page 1 of the same document, there's a paragraph that is titled citizenship. And it states that if you are not a U.S. citizen, a plea of guilty or nolo contendere may result in your deportation, exclusion from admission to the country, or denial of naturalization under federal law. Do you understand this paragraph? Now, Mr. Galmore, would you please have Mr. Osagara Borjas to initial this paragraph stating that he understands? Okay, now, Mr. Galmore, as his attorney, did you go over this document with him?
Yes, I did.
Was he given any advice concerning his rights and options that he has and the consequences of not being a U.S. citizen?
Yes, we contacted an immigration attorney and was advised as far as what consequences this case would have.
Okay. Okay, so, and that, followed the guidelines I guess that's written in Patil versus Kentucky?
Yes, Judge, and just in case the court was curious, because he is a permanent resident, he's not, he has a right to be here, obviously. Whenever a person is a permanent resident and they are convicted of a misdemeanor offense, the only real effect that it has is that in order to apply for citizenship, you have to attest that you've had no trouble for 5 years. So it will make it to where he would not be able to apply for citizenship for at least 5 years after his misdemeanor arrest. Not the date of the conviction, but the date of the arrest.
Okay,
After that 5 year period, it have no effect on him.
okay. Now, Mr. Osagara Barojas, I also have a document before me that is titled, well, it's for all foreign nationals except those from mandatory notification. And it states here that as a non-US citizen who is being arrested or detained, you may request that we notify the country's consular officers here in the United States of your situation. You may also communicate with your consular officers. A consular officer may be able to help you obtain legal representation and may contact your family and visit you in detention, among other things. If you want us to notify your consular officers, you may request this notification now or at any time in the future. Do you want us to notify your consular officers at this time?
No, sir.
All right, now I have this document before me that I just read. And do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And is this your signature on the second line of this document
Yes, sir.
at the top? Now, prior to signing and filling out this document, did your attorney go over this document with you?
Yes, sir.
And did you read and understand everything in this document?
Yes, sir.
And is everything in this document true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Also, battery is running out. Now, Mr. Osagara Rojas, on page 2 of this document, there's a set of initials on the line that's next to the box that's checked guilty. Are these your initials?
Yes, sir.
And I think we went over that. And your signature is on page 3, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And on the next document, which is titled Trial Court Certification to Defendant's Right of Appeal, do you recognize this document?
Yes.
And is this your signature on the line that's titled Defendant?
Yes, sir.
Are these your initials? Well, excuse me, at the top of this document, there are 2 boxes that's checked. The first box that's checked states that this is a plea bargaining case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes.
The second box that states that you're waiving your right to appeal, which means you're giving up your right to appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
And where's the discovery certification?
I've already handed it to the court.
Is
It's not
there?
right here. No, it's not.
Do we have a discovery certification from the previous?
I've already turned it in. We've all signed it.
Rojas?
That's it. That's it.
Osagara Rojas? Yeah. Now, Mr. Osagara Rojas, I have before me a document that is titled Discovery Certification. You recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And is this your signature on the line that's titled Defendant? Now, yeah, is this your signature right here?
Yes, sir.
Now, Ms. Osagara Rojas, prior to signing and issuing these documents, did your attorney go over these documents with you?
Yes, sir.
And did you read and understand everything in these documents?
Yes, sir.
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
Okay, state, I have before me state's exhibit number 1. State, you like to offer state's 1?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objections?
No, Your Honor.
No objection, state's exhibit number 1 will be admitted. And Mr. Galmore, you've advised and counseled Mr. Osagara Rojas, is there any evidence that he's currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Osagara Rojas, your attorney has advised and counseled you. Are you satisfied with his representation?
Yes, sir.
Has he provided full, effective, and competent legal representation?
Yes.
Mr. Osagara and Mr. Osagara Rojas, has the court will find that well, the court will accept your plea of guilty. The court will find that your plea and waivers was freely and voluntarily given. Court will also find that you're mentally competent to stand trial. The court will also find that there's sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
We do, Your Honor.
And what is that agreement?
Your Honor, the agreement is to plead to the lesser included charge, Class B DWI first. And the plea agreement on that is for 180 days in jail, probated over 1 year, a $1,500 fine, 60 hours of community service, and standard DWI conditions to include DWI classes and drug and alcohol assessment.
Now, what's the community service?
60
60.
hours, yes, sir. Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so Mr. Alciguera Rojas, the state is offering that you serve 180 days in the Jefferson County Jail. However, you will not have to serve any time in the Jefferson County Jail because that will be probated for 1 year. During the 1 year probationary period, you'll be required to pay a fine of $1,500 plus court costs, in this case, of $422, which comes to a total of fine and court costs of $1,922. You will also be required to pay a probation fee of $60 each month, a urinalysis fee of $15 each month. You will also be required to pay the DWI education class and initial evaluation fee of $125 each, $125 on the day of the plea. Should a further evaluation be needed, you'll be required to pay an additional fee of $50. Now, your total monthly installments, that is the total amount that you would have to pay each month while you're on probation, is $250. Mr. Rojas, Alciguera Rojas, do you understand the state's offer?
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you, will you be able to pay the $250 each month?
Yes, sir.
You also be required to perform 60 hours of community service, attend and complete a DWI education class, and have a drug and alcohol assessment. The state is waiving the enhancement paragraph in this case, and you will also be required to adhere to the other standard terms and conditions of your probation. Now, Mr. Alciguera Rojas, do you understand the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
And do you think that the state's offer is fair and just?
Yes, sir.
And do you accept the state's offer?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Alciguera Rojas, state, the court will follow the plea bargain agreement that you have entered into with the state. Mr. Alciguera Rojas, are you gonna stand on the X next to your attorney? And you will follow the directions of our court clerk. Once you finish following her directions, you will be free to go, and you have a blessed day. All right. Jail in January. Will you, Mr. January, please come forward? Okay, Mr. January, I have before me a document that is titled Affidavit of Indigence. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
Did he, hold on a minute. Mr. Gap, did he initial that paragraph next to citizenship?
He did.
He did, okay. Mr. January, is this your signature on page 2 above the line that's titled defendant's signature?
Yes, sir.
And do you recognize this document, which is titled Judge's Explanation of Rights to Defendant?
Yes, sir.
And is this your signature at the bottom where it says defendant?
Yes, sir.
And are these your initials on the line that says, I want to apply for court-appointed attorney?
Yes, sir.
Now, prior to signing and initialing these documents that I've just mentioned, did you read the documents?
Yes, sir.
And did you understand what you read?
Yes, sir.
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Okay, Mr. January,
Yes, sir.
the court has read, now, let Mr. January, is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. January, the court has read your affidavit of indigence, and based on your answers, you meet the eligibility requirement for the appointment of a court-appointed attorney, and your attorney that is going to be appointed to represent you in your case is Mr. Aldwin Samuel. This is jail in January. Mr. January, please stand on the far X in front of our court coordinator. She'll give you information on how to contact your attorney. Your attorney will be given information on how to contact you as well. Once you finish in here, and once you're given your attorney and your paperwork, you'll be free to go and you have a blessed day.
You know, and apparently that's what's, that they're signing contracts. I mean, just what